Are you constantly stretching your hip flexors, but you still feel that pinchiness, tightness in the front of the hips, no matter how much stretching you do? Here's the truth. Your hip flexors are not just tight, they're actually weak, so we need to strengthen them. As a physical therapist, this is something that I see very commonly. People just stretch and stretch, but do not incorporate the strengthening on top of that to maintain that flexibility. So when you think about strengthening your hip flexors, what I like to do is break it into mid, full, and end range. A lot of times people will just strengthen their hip flexors at a mid range and not take it into a full flexibility through the full range of motion. So that's what we're gonna do, go through a full, mid, and end range hip flexor strengthening. So let's get to it. For our very first hip flexor exercise, like I said, we're gonna do a full range first. So taking that hip flexor all the way at that end range and then all the way through. So we're gonna do this with a cable. If you don't have a cable, you can also do this with a band. So we're gonna attach ourselves with an ankle strap to a cable. And then from there, we're gonna step out and step forward. You can also use a PVC pipe to aid this because it's a little bit difficult exercise and eventually get rid of that guy or have some type of support. But you're gonna use it in the same hand as that leg that's working. From there, all we're doing is we're hinging back like if we're doing RDL, letting that leg come back. We're engaging those hip flexors and those lower abdominals as we drive forward and up and through. Make sure keeping that ankle up towards you as well. And reaching back, same kind of thing, and reach it forward. And then squeeze those hip flexors as we pull up and through. If you don't have a cable attachment, you can also use a band here, wrap it around that ankle. Same concept applies. You'll step out, use this PVC pipe for that balance. Reach those hips back, drive and pull up as far as you can. You might need to modify the band, the resistance of that band, but just pulling up, making sure that toe stays up towards you as well. For these reverse crunches, I love this one because it's a mid to full range hip flexor exercise. We can focus on that flexibility, but it's nice because a lot of people have a difficulty engaging their lower abdominals versus their hip flexors or just don't know which one is which. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna get a heavy dumbbell. We're gonna hook our foot underneath that. And then from there, we're having our hands across our chest. This opposite leg is gonna be up in the air, okay? Then after that, we're reaching back, allowing that hip flexor to lengthen. What you wanna think about is you're really hooking that foot in. You don't wanna come up and just pull with your abdominals and come up like that. You wanna think about really hooking within that foot as you drive that body back up. And reach it back again, and go as far back as you can. Hook that foot to pull your body up with those hip flexors. For our first mid-range exercise, this is the most typical one. We're gonna use a kettlebell hooked around our foot. We're gonna be on an elevated surface so we can really drop it down. From there, all we're doing is engaging that hip flexor, keeping our core nice and neutral, and just pulling up as we keep that toes up to that nose, same kind of concept. Bringing it back down, making sure we're getting a controlled 2 to 3 second hold before repeating. If you don't have a kettlebell or it's uncomfortable on your foot, you can utilize a band. So just hook that band around our midfoot. I like to use a wall so we can really kind of push into that wall there and help those hips get a little bit more into extension. Then from there, we're doing the same exact thing, just pulling up, keeping that toes up towards our nose. When you come back down, you can alternate with this one. You can also do this working different directions, so going more into abductions because those hip flexors work in multiple planes of motion, so just challenging them in all different ways. Okay. For our other mid-range hip flexor exercise, we're gonna use this with a box. We'll get down to the ground, we're gonna put this band around our midfoot here, but not around our ankles. From there, we're gonna go onto that box, bring our feet up onto there. After that, we're squeezing our glutes and lifting our hips up into hip extension. After that, we're just driving with those hip flexors, keeping that toe towards your nose as we alternate and keeping our hips into extension the entire time. Love this one, like I said, because it allows you to keep those glutes while we just work that anterior chain. For our end range hip flexor exercise, I like to do this on the floor. What we're gonna do is having our legs nice and straight, having our hands to our side. We wanna make sure our pelvis is in neutral position, so we're not posterior tilted like this, or not an extreme anterior tilt. We're in that nice neutral. Use your hands to maintain that position. From there, we're just engaging that hip flexor. We're coming up as high as we can. We're gonna come up, and then we're coming down. You're gonna repeat that. Up, over, and then back down. So there's just hip flexor lift-offs at that end range. You might even feel a little bit of that quad working too. That's okay. It's also a hip flexor. So just going back and forth while we maintain that position in our pelvis. Hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to start strengthening those hip flexors instead of stretching them. Cut that time in half, implement those full, mid, and range hip flexor exercises, and watch that pain decrease.